So many of our favorite foods from the Food and Wine Festival are back for 2025, but the question is, are they as good as they've been in years past? In today's video, we're gonna find out. Hi ho everybody, this is Rob with the Ear Scouts coming to you from the Epcot International Food and Wine Festival for 2025. This is actually our second video in a series of 3 all about the Food and Wine Festival. And in today's video, the focus is on favorites from festivals past. We actually asked everyone in the comments of our last video what we should call this one, because we didn't have a name for it. And we got some good ideas. Tamea Barna suggested Together Again, or maybe I Did It Again, which I like that. It kind of has like a Britney Spears, Oops, I Did It Again vibe. But the winner was Main Street Bear, also known as Eric, the other half of Ear Scouts. He suggested Deja food, and I love that. That's what we're going with. We're gonna have some food deja vu today. We're gonna try delicious things, and we're gonna see, do they measure up to what we remember the last time we tried them? This is the video I'm most excited about because I feel like I'm almost guaranteed to love everything that we eat today. So let's get started with our very first festival booth over in World Nature. Our first stop is over here next to the Land Pavilion. We're headed to Earth Eats, and this booth actually won our Most Improved award last year. If you haven't been to the festival in a while, you might have remembered this booth as a place where you'd go to get like overnight oats maybe, or some hummus that was like supermarket grade hummus with some chopped veggies. It wasn't the best, but last year they upgraded it to be a big boy food booth. It has real prepared food, just like all the other food booths for the festival. And one of those items was delicious. It was one of our favorites. It's the red wine braised beef. If you're a fan of fall apart tender braised beef dishes like buff bourguignon that are just bursting with rich flavor, this is gonna be right up your alley. What makes this one special is it is packed with olives and capers that are bringing a really briny flavor to this. If you're not a fan of super salty things, this might not be your jam, because there's definitely a lot of salt going on here. But what I love are just the flavors of the olives and the capers and how that blends perfectly with the richness of the beef and the cheese. The base of this dish is a goat cheese polenta that is so off the charts good. If you're a fan of cheese grits, this is basically like the best bowl of cheese grits you've ever had in your life. And then you're gonna have that beef on top with that delicious sauce. There's just layer upon layer of rich flavor. Now, I will say, compared to last year, the beef wasn't quite as fall apart tender. Now, of course, that's something that can change from one cut of beef to another. When you come here, it might be just as tender as it was last year. It's also possible that maybe our batch didn't get maybe slow cooked quite long enough to get it to that fall apart point. But even though it wasn't quite as tender as we remember, the flavor was every bit as good, if not better. So we would say this still belongs on our must-try list for 2025. Where there's smoke, there is flavors from fire, and that is our next Deja food location. This one has been a favorite for a lot of years, mainly because of one dish that keeps coming back. It's a smoked corned beef that's served over house-made potato chips. There's some cheese sauce on there. There's some pickled onions that cut against all the richness of everything else. This has been one of our favorites, and I am sad to say that this year, not as good as it has been in years past. I think that we actually just got this at the wrong moment. When we went up, there was no line, and there were a lot of these sitting in the window waiting for someone to buy them. And that is a really important thing that you should know when you're watching reviews of any of these food festivals here at Epcot from us or other channels. Disney does sometimes have an issue with consistency. Something that is delicious even 1 hour earlier might not be so great the next hour just because it's been sitting out for too long. So I think that's what got us this time. In our case, the beef was kind of cold. It wasn't even warm still. The chips were the worst part though. They were really soggy from all of the juices from that beef. It just was not something that we would have come back for if this had been the first time that we tried it. I do think all the components were still good though. If we'd gotten it fresh, we probably still would have liked this one, but I can't say for sure because, well, we didn't get it very fresh. For our next stop, we're crossing the bridge and heading over to the Odyssey Pavilion. This is where you're gonna find the Brew Wing Lab, which is also the home of the Muppets here at Food and Wine. Even if you're not planning on ordering anything here, I highly recommend stop by, enjoy some air conditioning, take a breather, and most importantly, enjoy the antics of Dr. Bunsen Honeydew and Beaker as they conduct their annual food-based experiments.
Here at Brew Wing Lab, we experiment with all sorts of ingredients, like the pickle, tasty and excellent conductors of electricity.
But while you're here, it would be a shame not to eat some of the amazing returning food items. This booth is mainly known for its wings, but in the last couple years, pickles have been making an invasion. This has become more known, I think, for their pickle treats than their chicken wings. And we had to try both of them, even though, full disclosure, only one of these is a returning favorite. The other is the opposite of a favorite. Yes, unfortunately, the pickle milkshake is back. This is one of the most infamous food festival creations Disney has come up with yet. If you want to know what this tastes like, imagine like a vanilla milkshake, and then imagine that for some strange reason, you opened up your spice drawer and you pulled out the dill bottle and you just dumped the whole thing into that milkshake. That, my friends, is what you're getting with the pickle milkshake. I'm not a huge dill fan. I don't mind it in small quantities, but as a milkshake flavor, it is definitely not for me. In fact, I don't think I've talked to anyone yet who was like, oh my gosh, this is the most delicious thing ever. Most people are kind of getting it for the novelty factor. So if you want to have your own pickle milkshake induced nightmares, then by all means, stop by and get it. But if you want a really delicious festival treat, what you should get instead are the fried pickles. We told you last year that these were our favorite fried pickles that we've ever had, and I am happy to say that they are back and as good as ever. I'm going to tell you once again why these things are so good. Number one, a lot of times when you get fried pickles, they're like the chips. So you get a lot of fried coating and not as much pickle. Now, some folks might like that. These have big, thick, juicy spears of pickle and the perfect amount of crispy coating on the outside. And even better, Disney was smart. They did not make that crispy coating very salty. And that's key because pickles are really salty. A lot of times you'll get fried pickles and they'll use that same seasoning that they use on things like onions and other fried things, and it's just way too salty. These are perfect. They're crunchy, they're not too salty. There is a little bit of a dill mixture mixed in with the batter, which I think gives it an extra punch of pickle flavor. And they finish it off with a delicious creamy sauce, almost like a buttermilk ranch flavor. Thus far in the video, I think this is our biggest Deja food winner yet. Unfortunately, it is paired with the booby prize, but still, skip the shake, go with the pickles, you won't be disappointed. We have one final stop before we head into World Showcase, and it is actually our favorite booth from last year. It's called Milled and Mulled, and it's part of the Harvest Hollow area. This actually had two of our favorite items last year. One was the Fall Fruits Cheesecake, which we reviewed in the last video. You can check that one out. We'll put a link in the description down below. But the other item that we loved last year was the carrot cake. And this, I think, is our first Deja food item that is actually even better than it was last year. It is so moist and tender. It's got a really rich cream cheese icing that is drizzled all over the top. And inside, you're gonna find nuts and warming spices. There's even a little bit of pineapple and, of course, carrot. This carrot cake is practically perfect in every way. Our first stop in the World Showcase is the lovely country of Canada, and this is pretty much the Deja food capital of this festival, because there are 3 different returning food items that we love from Canada. We tried all 3 of them, and I'm happy to say that one of them is better than ever. The other 2, a little bit of a split decision. But let's start with the best of the best, and that is over at Refreshment Port. Refreshment Port is known all year round for having delicious poutine. They usually have a traditional poutine on the menu, and then they'll have something special for the festival. Spoiler alert, the traditional poutine is normally way better than the festival poutine. In this festival, however, I am happy to report that the festival poutine is way better. This might be my favorite poutine that they do all year long. To give you an idea of how delicious this is, I'm just gonna lay out what's going on in this poutine. So you got some freshly made fries on the bottom. Then on top of that is some perfectly braised beef. I mean, it is falling apart on those fries. And then they douse all of that in a mushroom gravy. But they're not done. They're also gonna add in some pickle relish, which is really the perfect complement to all those rich flavors. It adds a little bit of acidity that really brightens everything up. And as if that wasn't enough, they top it all off with cheese curds and some delicious Boursin goat cheese. Man, this thing is off the hook delicious, and I'm so glad we came back for it again this year. Next door at the Canada food booth are 2 items that are perennial favorites. These are actually items that are featured on the menu at Le Cellier, which is the famous steakhouse here in the Canada Pavilion. One is a bacon cheese soup that's served with a pretzel roll for dipping. The other is a filet mignon served with a mushroom sauce and some really rich mashed potatoes. So we were really split on this. I thought that the soup was very good, maybe almost as good as in years past. Eric completely disagreed. He said the soup was way too salty this year. And I will say, it is a very salty soup. So if you're not a fan of super salty things, you might want to skip it. But I love it because it's got such a bold, cheesy flavor, and it's got a lot of bacon flavor. And those are 2 of my favorite flavors. Add in that pretzel roll for dipping, and you've got a perfect snack. To Eric's point, however, I think we might have gotten kind of the bottom of the pot of soup, which meant that maybe some of the water had evaporated out and it was a little bit saltier than normal. Next was the filet mignon, and I was not a fan of the filet mignon this year. I loved everything else about it. The mushroom sauce was great. The mashed potatoes were better than ever, but the filet mignon itself was really tough. It was so tough, you could almost not even cut it with the plastic fork that they gave you. It's almost like you needed a real knife to cut this filet. And that's just not normally the case with the filet that you get here in the Canada Pavilion. It's usually a lot more tender. Eric, however, was totally fine with it being a little bit tough because he said the flavor of this beef was so good, it more than made up for it. And I'll agree with him on that. The flavor of the meat was very good. I just wish I didn't need an industrial strength steak knife to cut into it. Our next stop on the World Showcase is between France and Morocco. And it's 2 countries you wouldn't normally expect to find right next to each other, but here they are. Brazil and Belgium have food booths right next to each other. I guess it makes sense alphabetically, if not geographically. But we do have some delightful returning dishes to talk about at both of these booths. First up at Brazil is a Deja food item that you're really only going to be able to find either in Brazil at a festival like this or a Brazilian restaurant, which lots of places don't have Brazilian restaurants. So this is a cool thing to try here at Food and Wine. It's called feijoada. Imagine black beans and rice, pretty basic, but then they top that with some pork belly that's nice and salty and rich, and then they top all of that with a Brazil nut pesto. The Brazil nut pesto is unique. It doesn't taste like a traditional Italian pesto. It has a different selection of herbs. I think there's a lot of cilantro and parsley in there that just gives it a different vibe, and it's definitely got an extra punch of citrus on the finish. What's great about this dish though, it's massive. It's a lot of food. It's perfect to share. It's a great entree pick if you're looking for kind of more of a main dish item. This is a great one, and mainly I love it because it's delicious and unique. It's not something that you're gonna find all year round here at Epcot, and it may not be something you can easily find where you're from either. Next door in Belgium is another braised beef dish. Clearly here at Ear Scouts we love the braised beef, but in Belgium this one's a lot different than the one you're going to find at Earth Eats. Whereas that one was really briny and salty, this one's on the sweeter side because it's a beer braised beef, and it's seasoned with carrots and onions and kind of a sweeter vegetable profile than the olives and capers that you found up front. On the base of this dish are Gouda mashed potatoes, and they are so delicious. They're buttery, rich, and creamy. The only thing I will say about this one, it's a lot of rich flavors, and there's really nothing cutting it. But if that's your kind of jam, and it's definitely mine, you're gonna love this dish. You might notice that we skipped right over France, and France usually has some of my favorite food and wine picks. Well, the reason we skipped over it is because this year they have a completely new menu. Every single food item on the menu is new, so we're going to be covering that in our next food and wine video, where we talk about the new kids on the block, all the new food items at this year's festival, and we're going to give you our picks. If you want to see that video, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring that bell, and that way you're going to be notified as soon as it comes out. For right now though, let's head on to our next stop, Morocco. Here in Morocco, it is time for dessert. They do have another one of our favorite returning food items here, which is that stone-baked bread that comes with different dipping sauces. We always love that one, but that's not what we're here to talk about. We're talking about pistachio cake. If you love pistachio ice cream or pistachio pudding, you know that flavor I'm talking about. It doesn't really taste like real pistachios necessarily, but it's pistachio flavored dessert products. And that's the flavor you're gonna get with this cake. But what makes it so good, it's just so incredibly delicate and moist. It is just a perfectly prepared cake. The other thing I love about it is the cinnamon buttercream frosting that just adds a layer of richness. There's also some walnuts and toasted coconut to add some texture and crunch, but really my favorite thing about this is the texture of that cake and the delicious cinnamon buttercream frosting. This is a nice, not overly heavy dessert. If you're looking for something sweet and light, this is the one for you. Our next stop is the American Adventure Pavilion, and even though we're only halfway through the World Showcase, this is actually our final stop in today's video. That's because our favorite item over in Germany was included in that cheesy Fromage Montage video. We got a link to that down below. So that one is a favorite item, and it was delicious as it has been in previous years, but not in today's video. Over in Mexico, they've got a lot of new items, but none of our returning favorites. So that makes America our final stop, but it is a delicious final stop. If you were thinking when I described that cake in Morocco as a nice light dessert, that wasn't your jam, that you wanted something rich and heavy, maybe something chocolate, then I have the dessert for you here at Flavors of America. This is one of our favorite festival items, and it is as delicious as ever, maybe even better than it's ever been. It's a chocolate pudding cake, which means that the inside of this thing is molten chocolate. And it's not like a lava cake. It's not just gonna kind of all ooze out. This one's just like a really rich, flourless chocolate cake that just came out of the oven. And then they top the whole thing with a whiskey caramel sauce. You don't get a strong whiskey flavor from it. It's just kind of a little subtle aftertaste. It's mainly just a nice, rich caramel. If you are a chocoholic like me, this one might be your favorite festival dessert item, and it is definitely my favorite Deja food dessert. I love this thing so much every year, and this year it was better than ever. Sadly, however, that is our final Deja food of today's video, but don't worry, we still have one more food and wine video headed your way, New Kids on the Block, where we're going to talk about all the new festival food items and tell you which ones you need to put on your must-try list. If you want to see that video, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell so you'll be notified as soon as it comes out. Before we go, I do want to give a huge thank you to our Patreon family. Thank you all so much for making videos like this possible. If you'd like to join them and get a free trial to some of our exclusive bonus content, head on over to patreon.com/earscouts. And of course, I want to thank all of you. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, don't forget to think happy thoughts, everybody. We'll see you again real soon.